Hi, I'm Michael Depp, editor of TVNewsCheck, and this week I'm with VP and News Director of KMSP and WFTC in Minneapolis, Mim Davey, and we are talking TV.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Thank you, Mim, for joining me. You are most welcome in a very eventful month that you have had in your newsroom in a city that has been an international focal point with, of course, the Chauvin trial. And one of the main reasons I wanted to talk to you today was because your station took the very bold step of carrying gavel-to-gavel coverage of the Chauvin trial. So I'm wondering, first, how did your viewers respond to that?
You know, I would say that we heard overwhelmingly that viewers appreciated the opportunity to watch the trial gavel to gavel, so they could make up their own minds as being able to look at all of the witnesses, exhibits, the performances of both the prosecution and the defense. This trial, sparked so much emotion, and it really was important that we felt it was important that viewers had the opportunity to watch it without a filter.
And how about the ratings?
I will tell you that we did not obviously do this for the ratings, but I will tell you that it was clear that it was something that viewers found and stuck with and watched.
Was this a decision that was difficult to make, or was it pretty straightforward? Everyone wanted to go forward with this. Did you have to tussle with others over it?
It was a bold decision, but it was an easy decision. We discussed it. We brought it to the idea to the general manager, Sheila Oliver, and without a hesitation, she was 100% on board. And of course, we brought in our general sales manager, and he was just absolutely not a problem, totally on board. This is a historic trial that it is just absolutely served the community and public interest.
So, as I said earlier, Minneapolis has been a major focal point for the Black Lives Matter movement and for social justice movements generally for almost a year now. I'm wondering, how has that changed your newsroom, and what changes have you made to your coverage of race and justice since then?
Well, I'll start by saying that we really almost immediately, I would say within a couple of weeks of being right in the middle of the social unrest and understanding how significant this was, not only for Minnesota, but really for the world, that this was an inflection point. And I think what we decided was that we, not only as a news organization, but members of the community, we live here, we work here, many of these people are our neighbors. So we immediately said we need to be a vessel for change and for voice. So we started an initiative called Voices for Change, and one of the things we did was we wanted to hand over the mic to people that could better explain to viewers what we're going through and what we've been through. So that's how we started. And we also created.
If I can just jump in on that, what does that mean, handing over to what people were you handing that mic over?
To people in the community that are in some cases activists, some cases people from organizations, maybe for example, maybe the Urban League. We gave our mic to young people that could just explain the experiences. It wasn't so much an opportunity to it was really more of an opportunity to teach us some of the systemic racism that they faced.
And what did that look like? How did you integrate that into a newscast?
Well, we have created committees, right? Not in the station, both for internally education for all of us in the entire station, not just the news department, but we have a committee that talks about programming. And so we have 3 dedicated reporters committed to telling stories. So we've done stories on redlining, how difficult it is for people to buy homes, all the systemic racism in education, housing, police. And so they found people who could be experts in this opportunity. And we say what we really want to do is open our hearts, open our minds, listen and learn.
I think I cut you off. You had some other initiative you were going to talk about.
Well, it's a station-wide commitment, and we call it Voices for Change. But it isn't just letting other people speak. It starts with us. Humbly, we have to say we need to learn, open our minds, and listen to what even subtle racism is. In stories, in programming, and television. And one of the things we're very conscious about in terms of day-to-day reporting is just making sure that we're showing diverse images, diverse people, going into the community and telling stories that better reflect our entire community.
And have these changes been enough so far?
Well, I would say we've made great progress, but we're not done yet.
There's an unavoidable political polarization around these issues. And I wonder, how do you deal with that while fending off potential accusations of bias?
It's true. And there's nothing more difficult in the heat of this moment, in this turbulent time. And I mean, it really is an inflection point for the whole country to have people not believing the media, not believing in institutions. So we believe having the conversations about racism in an intelligent, respectful way is our approach. We know that that's not going to pacify everybody, but we just know it's the right thing to do. We're committed to it and we're going to keep doing it.
Have you had a backlash from some viewers about this focus change?
Well, less about our content, but it's just a very emotional, volatile situation. It's gotten that, in going back to your original point, that's why we felt it so important to broadcast the trial, because in television news you have such a finite amount of time to tell a story, and people can either believe it or not believe it, or see their own facts in the story. And so to be able to broadcast that, I think really made a difference in tamping down some of that backlash. I would say we don't face any more backlash than probably any local television station trying to cover social unrest in these times.
Well, related to that, though, is the fact that some viewers conflate Fox local stations with Fox News, where the primetime opinion shows take a very loud and dim view of Black Lives Matter and the protests. So I wonder, how do you navigate that conflation when it happens, both for your reporters out in the field, when they see a Fox, when people there just see Fox and they make that association, and then also with your viewers?
I'll tell you, we don't really have that problem here locally. I mean, at least not to any extent that has become a problem. We're a newsroom full of veteran journalists and people who are committed to telling stories. And we haven't really faced that. I think in general, it isn't just Fox. I would say that there's a segment, well, it's polarized, right? I mean, there are people who think you're pro-police and there are people who say you're anti-police. So it really depends on where you fall in that. But it isn't just our station. I would venture to guess it's every station. So we just keep doing our stories. We keep doing what we trained to do. I think when we prepared for this, we prepared for the verdict to go either way. Every single person who works here, and particularly the people in the field, we talked every single moment about this is our moment. You are documenting history, and you are out there letting the world see. You're documenters. We're not here to have an opinion or put a slant on anything. And I think because we do that, and I think we're successful, we just haven't seen that much of a backlash.
So we have come out of an utterly remarkable year in terms of the consequentiality of the news, the stress on the people producing it, and as you mentioned earlier, the trust crisis between news consumers and the media generally. How is all of that now reshaping your priorities as a news director in a very important market?
Well, I will tell you that, a year ago, it was much different because we were in COVID, and within 2 days, 48 hours, we were in, civil unrest, protests, and in some cases violence. And we really hadn't ever really experienced anything to that magnitude. So this time around, we've had some time, to really talk about it and to learn about what it is we're experiencing. So now I think we are really committed, like I said, humbly, that we are committed to finding stories that, are reflective of our community. And everybody is in. There isn't a single person behind the scenes or in front of the camera reporting that isn't in it, in the moment, living it, understanding where we are in time, and that what we do right now will be documented in history. And so I think we're eyes wide open.
Do you think that what we're going to see as we come at certainly the other side of the virus, and as race and justice issues are ongoing and so volatile as they are, that we're going to see a reshaped newscast, that it's going to look and feel fundamentally differently than it did before this period began?
Absolutely. There is no doubt about it. In addition to telling bigger stories, that are targeted specifically at racial injustice or systemic racism, we are committed to re-examining every single image that goes into our newscasts. We realize that there's subtle racism too in the images that we portray in our content that isn't specifically related to social unrest or social injustice. Mm-hmm. Just your everyday stories that we covered that have nothing to do with racism. We need to make sure that we're including people in these stories every single day that represent the entire community. And I think that that's something that everybody is committed to doing, and we've already started.
To do that, is it sort of more aggressively audited? How do you pragmatically do that? You look over a story once an editor and a reporter have finished something, and somebody else takes a look to scrutinize to see, wait a second, that image might be problematic. What does that look like pragmatically?
Well, we're doing well. We have a ways to go. But for example, we have created a database, if you will, of experts in fields across the gamut, right? From real estate to banking to doctors to school teachers, of people of color, so that we know that we can look to expand our experts. And we've done a nice job. It is something we talk about in every single editorial meeting. We do, and we know it takes an effort.
Yeah.
It takes an effort because this is a mind change of just running out, and getting the easy interview and the person that you talk to, 10 times in the last month. It's, but it is something that everybody understands. It's not something that I've preached or put down and eat it. Everybody gets it and everybody's in. So we talk about it in every story that we do. What are our options? Who are you going to talk to? What are our I hate to say that, but person on the street, if we're getting that kind of flavor, where are we going? We don't hit home runs every day, but we're definitely better than when we started.
Not the same old faces, the same old go-to sources for every story, every subject.
Right. We affectionately say that we don't want to see the same people in their ties,
Right. Okay. Well, good luck to you in that endeavor. Mim Davey, the VP and News Director of Fox-owned KMSP and WTFC in Minneapolis. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.